Nephilim. So Ryan sent in this question: explain the Nephilim, which is quite possibly the shortest but most intricate question he could have asked, because there is a lot surrounding the Nephilim. But if you're not familiar with the Nephilim, they show up in Genesis chapter 6. In verse 1 to 4, it says this: When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. That story is insane. It's wild. There's no getting around that. But at the core of what they are, Nephilim are giants, a giant race of people. We don't know exactly how big, but we know that they're giants. We know that all of the early church fathers believed in giants. And for most of Christian history, there has been belief in these giants explained in the Bible. You see them throughout the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy, and Numbers. The Israelites run into a bunch of different kinds of giants. You guys probably know one of the most famous giants of all time is Goliath. David and Goliath. Goliath was over 9 feet tall, and he was probably one of these races of giants. You have King Og of Bashan, who shows up in Deuteronomy as well, where it says that he had a bed made of steel that was 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. These were big guys, big people. So there's really not much debate on what the Nephilim were. The debate surrounds how they came to be. See, Genesis 6 tells us that the Nephilim came from these sons of God intermarrying with the daughters of man. The debate is on this phrase, sons of God. Bene Elohim is the Hebrew, sons of God. And some say that it was these descendants of Seth, the righteous line of Seth. And so they had good fields and crops, and they had blessing upon them, so they had good food, and so they grew really big. Another group of people believe that this Bene Elohim, the sons of God, is actually fallen angels. And so these angels fell down and had relations with women, created the Nephilim, this race of giants. What's interesting is that every other time this Bene Elohim shows up in the Bible, it's translated as angels of God. And so my opinion is that these were angels that came down and had relations with women, made wives of them, and created this giant race of people. So I think there is some sort of spiritual element to these ancient giants. You guys might think I'm crazy, but there's a lot of evidence to back this up biblically and otherwise. So that's what the Nephilim are. That's how they came to be. It's wild. It's a crazy story. Genesis 6 is insane. But there's a couple of things I think we can glean from this and learn from this. The world is not just things. We want to scientify and want to know everything and why it works. That there's a lot of things at play that maybe we can't explain all the time, because there are spiritual realms, spiritual forces, things like that. The second thing I'd tell you is that we need to be aware of that, yes, but we want to make sure that that isn't where our main focus is. We want to keep our focus centered on God, on Christ and what He's done for us, and sharing that gospel, that good news with other people. So there's a lot going on in this world and some things that we can't even see, but let's make sure our focus remains set on Christ.